And we are live. Welcome back to episode number 37 of Extend the Drive Best Ball Live. I'm Sean Mitchell, your host. First of three shows on the docket for this week. We are in full swing. Camp news is here. Camp reports are here. Everything to do with NFL training camp, all teams reported. Hey, we are in full systems go. NFL is here. Football is here. Have a great guest on tap for today, which all of my guests have been absolutely fantastic. But very excited here to bring on one of the sharper guys that I've seen in the streets. He is a team from over there at the Footballguys Fantasy Football team. Let's welcome on Mr. Dave Kluge. And bring him on. There we go. Hey, Dave. Sorry.
What's up, man? No, I get it, man. It's tough running the whole show. You gotta host, you gotta draft, you gotta handle the production. You know, there's a lot that goes into it. I get it.
There is, and a lot of people don't see that from behind the scenes. And I'm not even a pro streamer or whatever. I do just enough of these to be dangerous. I still am doing just the old scheme here. You know, just the StreamYard, basic pro, nothing fancy, nothing too out there. But hey, man, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
How you doing? Happy Tuesday. How we doing?
Yeah, doing good, man. It's a really fun time of year. This is one of my favorite times when training camp opens up because it feels like for the last month, I don't know about you, Sean, I've just been drafting like the same teams over and over and over and over again. We're not getting any news at all. It's like, you know, the littlest bit of news. It's like, oh, Malik Neighbors was limping a little bit, better knock him down 2 rounds. Like, people are so overreactive, and now we get so much news that you almost like can't react to it enough in real time. So this is a great time of year. These are some of the most successful drafts I've had historically are within these like first couple of weeks of training camp.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the other thing too, Dave. It's like the ADPs are about to get manipulated so much more, and it seems like, I don't know about you, but like over the last few seasons of doing best ball, like the news cycles now are so much more sharper, and there's so much more people doing them, and so it's just like drinking from a water hose, and it's even more so now than it was like 2 years ago, where people would pay attention, you know, would watch the beat reporters a little bit. You know, you had the 32 beat writers that basically covered most of everything. And then it was like, after that, it was like basically like nobody really talked too much about stuff until they got into like late August. But yeah, man, like the news cycles are just crazy now. And it feels like the ADPs are just going to continually be more drastic, get sharper. Obviously, within the next couple, like you said, like now we're getting all the info. Now we're getting more of the pertinent information. So with that being said, like how much emphasis do you put on this training camp news? Like a lot of people, you know, I know OTAs, mini camp, that's totally different. Like, you know, it's right. Kind of you're getting the foot in the door, you know, starting to get the football stuff back going. But like from now on, now all 32 teams have reported to camp. How are you weighting it now compared to like a month ago, per se?
So I think that's a really good question. And I think the problem that you have is a lot of people are just out here to confirm their priors, that they're going to find anything they can that is pro about a player they've been drafting and share that, where I think you just need to take in as much information as possible and be willing to move off of stances that you may have had previously. Like, I've got some stances right now that I'm already feeling a little bit sketchy about, where it's like, okay, you know, I haven't been drafting Jalen Waddle, but like if it starts coming out that Jalen Waddle is just tearing up Denver camp, I'd be foolish to ignore that. Like, I'm going to start getting a little more Jalen Waddle in my portfolio. But I think the biggest thing right now, and Sean, you and I are both sickos that are plugged in 365 days a year. A lot of people are just like, oh, training camp is like, I was with my buddies in Chicago this week and I said something about Kirk Cousins being a Raider. They're like, Kirk Cousins isn't a Raider? And I'm like, I forgot. You know, not everybody's paying attention to all this stuff. Right. So I think what you get a lot of times this time of year is people double counting things that we have already been accounting for. Like, I expected Alec Pierce to start the season on PUP. I haven't drafted Alec Pierce in a single draft this year. But now, because people are going to double count that, which we should have expected to happen, now he's going to fall a round or two in ADP, and now I'm going to start drafting Alec Pierce at a depreciated cost. Jonathan Brooks. I know you've been a bit of a Jonathan Brooks guy. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
I have this year, where I know you were Big Bull last year, and I was on Chuba last year, or Rico, I should say.
Right.
Which I guess I might want to say 2024, because that was the year Chuba kind of had his outstanding year, which, you know, Brooks got hurt again. So whatever, either way, I am in on Brooks, yes.
And I think the problem is now, because we're getting nothing but great news about how good he looks, he is going to shoot up draft boards. So like now, I like Jonathan Brooks a lot, but it's going to be really hard for me to pay up with Jonathan Brooks when he's going in round 5 or 6 with all of the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th round Jonathan Brooks that I've been drafting this offseason. So I think this is a time of year where you kind of want to stick to your guns a little bit, react to the market, and then once we get through that first week or two of training camp and start getting actual news, then you can start adjusting your rankings.
Yeah. And to that point, you made a good point there. Like, do you ever reach a certain point where you're like, you know what? I just can't draft this guy anymore because I don't know if I'm still getting good value. Like, especially Jonathan Brooks. It's just a great example because we have no clue how this guy's going to, he has yet to play a full, even he's played a couple games maybe? Like,
I think he's got 13 career touches in the NFL.
Like I said, we have no clue how this guy's going to look. We don't know how he's going to go into the season. All we're doing is just hoping that he makes it through camp at this point. So do you reach that certain point on certain guys like, AJ Brown, who's now moved up into the first round? We're getting some good fun. Him and Drake May are not meshing well right now. They're not gelling. Like that stuff.
Ridiculous.
Is there a point, where a guy reaches a certain point of a rise in ADP and you're just like, all right, I'm going to start clicking so-and-so else. Is it a cost thing? Is it I don't want to get too overexposed and then now taking a worse cost? Like, how do you approach that?
And I'm okay being overexposed to people if the price is right. Like last year, I was at 58% Blake Corum because I kept saying like Blake Corum should be moving up, and he was just consistently sitting there in round 18. And I was like, if you're going to give me Blake Corum in round 18, I'm going to take him in almost every single draft. And that's kind of where I'm at right now with Ray Davis. Like this is a guy that I expect to move up in ADP, but it hasn't happened. So I'm just sitting here like 50% Ray Davis, drafting him. But if he moves up to like round 14, then I'll have to change my sights a little bit, and I'm not going to be drafting Ray Davis in 50% of my drafts if he moves up a few rounds. So it's really, you have to look at every player in its own little vacuum. But yeah, it's Quentin Johnson, I think, is another one that I was very in on. I liked Quentin Johnson at cost when he was going in round 8, but now I see him going in round 5 in some drafts, hardly ever even falling out of round 6. That's a much tougher click to make when I was getting him in round 8 a couple months ago.
Yeah, it's like Rashad White. I don't know if you're
another one, Rashad
White, he's another great example where but the whole Quentin Johnson thing, going back to that, it's like what prompted the rise there? Like, was it just the fact that McDaniel said he was going to try to start getting in more yak plays? Was it? I didn't see anything else that constituted a 25 ADP jump than just basically,
because there's no news.
Yeah,
there's no news. It's that lull in between OTAs and training camp where all it takes is just a little smidge of coach speak to, rocket a guy 2 rounds up in ADP. And similarly, like you get the inverse of that as well. Like I wasn't drafting Bucky Irving when he was going at kind of that 3-4 turn. Right. But then we get Todd Bowles saying this thing about like, we expect him to be sometime back late in the fall. He had that weird comment. Jason Light immediately came out and was like, no, Bucky Irving's going to be fine. But he fell to round 6 because of that. Then it's like, okay, now I'm going to draft Bucky Irving because you're going to give him to me in round 6. So I try not to react too much to the coach speak and the speculative reports. But through these first 2 weeks of training camp, we're going to start seeing who's practicing with the ones, who's looking good, who's not. And, that's when you really want to start paying attention and adjusting your rankings.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we do hop in and start getting ready for, and I'm not even sharing my screen. Look at me again. Boy, I'm telling you, I'm way off of it. I wanted to ask, who do you perceive as being the highest riser at this point? I know it's freshly, and I'm putting you on the spot here, but who do you see being your top riser within the first week of camp? And I've got one that I kind of think is probably a good one, but I want to hear kind of what, I know you've been tuned in again. You've seen all the reports going out today and yesterday with all the training camp last week, over the weekend. Who's your guess? Who do you think is going to be that guy that just rises like 30 spots right off the bat within the first couple of days?
I think it's going to be Kayshon Boutte. Like he has consistently been sitting there as like that last round guy that you can target. And I think the immediate reaction to the AJ Brown trade was that this is the end of it for Kayshon Boutte. Right. Now, I think that there's a few different outs here if you're drafting Kayshon Boutte. One, I think that he can just straight up beat Romeo Doubs. And I think that they signed Romeo Doubs. Yeah. I mean, Kayshon Boutte's a good player. Like he fell in the draft for some character.
Go LSU. Go Tigers. So,
he's a baller. So I think he fell because of character concerns. But this is a guy we were talking about like as good as Malik Neighbors prior to that final year at LSU. But we're already getting the really good buzz about him out of camp. So one, I think that he can just like be the wide receiver 2 in New England on his own accord because he's that good. The other option, I think, is that he has a really good training camp, and then you get a team like the Commanders or the Raiders that still need a wide receiver 1 that go out and trade for Kayshon Boutte. So he's a guy right now that I've been aggressively targeting at the end of drafts because I think there's 2 outs for him to really spike in value.
No, I like that a lot. I like that quite a bit because I've been thinking the same thing. And honestly, I was majorly, when he was in the offseason, he was practicing off by himself, wasn't with the team. I was like, get this guy to Washington. Like, that's what I kept saying. I was like, get him, let him play the Debo role, I think he would absolutely crush in that role. So love that call. What do you think about Dazon Stribling right now? What do you think?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm sitting at about 30% Stribling right now. He's been one of my favorite guys. I'm in over 20 dynasty leagues, and I was able to get him in all but one of my rookie drafts. I mean, I was taking him at the 1-2 turn. Like, this is a guy who was drafted 33rd overall, and there's a bust profile here for sure. But if you also look at the hits that have come in that area of the draft, these guys drafted in the first half of round 2 with off-the-charts athleticism. That's where we found T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, Michael Thomas. And I think people remember the Traylon Burkses and the Jonathan Mingos and all the busts that hit there, but we have had so many guys that just tilt leagues, and I think that there was just kind of this idea, like, you know, the fantasy community whiffed on Dazon Stribling. I think a lot of people didn't perceive him as somebody who was going to go on day 2, let alone 33rd overall, but then he lands in a spot where Juwan Jennings out of the picture, like he plays the same role as Juwan Jennings. We were drafting Juwan Jennings in round 6 last year. Now you've got a rookie with more athleticism stepping into that same role. He's a guy that I've been drafting a ton of. Yeah. But then you talk about like the top dollar, like where you stop drafting this guy. Yeah, it's going to be hard for me to draft Stribling if people start taking him. Like, it would not surprise me with the drumbeat that we've been getting so far, knowing that there's a lot of aging pieces that people are expected to just fall off in San Francisco.
Christian hurt, already hurt on day 1 of camp. You know, that was what kind of prompted me that too. I just feel like he's going to fly now because the runway's already been set. He's getting talked about every single day.
If he's going round 10 in a month, would that surprise you at all? Because I don't think it's that crazy.
No, I don't, especially if we continue to get like negative reports about, you know, Christian Kirk. I just, like you said, like going back to the whole Juwan Jennings thing, like if he hadn't tried to, you know, get a better contract and whatever, and obviously had the injuries, he was going to be a very good click. We saw the way he was used in the San Francisco offense. So totally with you there. Like that room is completely open now. And yeah, I mean, you've got basically Mike Evans, Ricky Pearsall, and then that third spot, I think at this point is pretty much wide open. Like it's wide open and it's the doors open.
Absolutely. And then I think another one to pay close attention to is this Commanders room. It seems like nobody really knows who the guy is going to be right now. If we start getting some buzz that Katron Allen is looking good or that Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt's looking good.
Yeah, I was going to bring up JCM from last year, you know, with that huge rise that he had, which was crazy. But yeah go ahead.
And I think that's it. Like, you know, those ambiguous running back situations, I think Jacksonville is a little bit more ambiguous than people realize as well. We saw Chris Rodriguez not on the PUP list, so he'll be there to start training camp. Every time you look at those kind of 3-headed ambiguous backfields, I'm paying close attention to those in training camp to kind of see who the beat is leaning towards.
Good. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's catch up with the chat real quick. Boy, good to see you. I appreciate you coming in. Fantasy Phil had him. Actually, he's about to drop a live from, well, not a live. We did a recording last night. We did a draft. We talked a little bit. He also pointed out that Ray Davis, good late round bet. So there, props to you, Dave, on that one. But we did one that he's going to drop later on, I think, on his Twitter. But nonetheless, while I'm about to get into this, let's count it down because we are doing a BBM. We are going to shoot for the 2 mil. We're going for the whole gusto here, Dave. I noticed, and I was going to ask you, like, I noticed you've done a lot of NFFC drafts, FFPCs. I'm thinking you're in those streets. I know we talked beforehand before we jumped on. You're doing a lot of DraftKings, doing a lot of drafters, not so much Underdog, right? So really, like, this will be kind of almost a new kind of a draft for you with jumping into an Underdog BBM, right?
Yeah, this is the first BBM I've done of the year. I've been doing a ton of puppies, but I'm trying to max out the drafters main event, trying to max out the DraftKings main event. I'm over 50% of the way through both of those. And then, as you said, NFFC as well. And I want to tell you, like, if you haven't drafted on NFFC or FFPC before, you should definitely check that out because I think it's pretty indicative of the way that ADP is going to move. Like we saw just over the last 2 weeks, Jonathan Brooks has leapt Chuba Hubbard in ADP over there, which I don't agree with, but that kind of tells you that might be where some of these best ball streets are headed. You know, that's where we saw Emeka Ibuka moving up into round 2 over the last couple of weeks. We've seen Quentin Johnston going at the 4-5 turn. So you start talking about some of these risers. When you see these guys rising in the high stake streets, those are guys that I start drafting pretty aggressively in best ball because that tells me that over the next 2 to 3 weeks, they're going to start rising there as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. So as I'm going to cut this down. We are doing the 20-second pick. If anybody's watching, wants to join in with us, draft with us, please don't snipe us. 5, 4, 3. And you can see I've only done 5. So 3, 2, 1. I'm kind of like in you in a sense. I've saved all of my BBM bullets for essentially guests and just doing a few here and there within the next couple of weeks. I wanted to put my best foot forward on getting the most news whenever I drafted BBM. like you, I did a lot of the pre-NFL draft. I did a lot of the puppies, the smaller contests that came out. We got the Influencer 101 with Dave. As soon as he comes on, I knew it was the hair. I knew it was something. It had to have been. Okay, we got the Influencer 101. But so how many total drafts are you at right now for this season?
I'm through 20 on NFFC. I think I'm at 85 on DraftKings, and then 78, I believe, on Drafters. And then I've done about 30 or 40 over on Underdog. Like I said, doing the puppies and whatnot over there. I did some of the little board as well before the NFL draft. So I'm sitting somewhere between 200 and 250 right now.
That's roughly where I'm pretty dang close to like that 250, 300 range. So we're pretty much, and I made it a big point. I put, posted it on Twitter, like, last year, I was so adamant about getting in volume. I want to make sure I get this number. I want to get X amount of drafts a day. I want to make sure I get 700 drafts. And, I think I ended up like nearly 600, which I just get burnt out. I don't know about you, but so I made it. And we are at the one here. Dave, who's your preference here?
Jameer Gibbs for sure.
Right?
You're not going to push back there?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I will say I've actually been – I ran hot early on in the Underdog season and was getting a lot of Gibbs at one, and because I was taking him over Bijan, and then lately I've been getting a lot of twos and been able to get my Bijan stock back up. But yeah, that's what I was going back to that point. Like I told myself this year, hey, I just want to draft whenever I want to draft. Like I'm not going to just set hey, I need to get 5 in today, or I want to make sure I get X amount into this contest because I need to get this much. Like I just draft when I want to. Like whenever I, intentionally want to say I'm focused, I want to sit down, I feel like drafting, I feel good about drafting. That's when I'm going to draft. Is that kind of the way you're doing it this year, or is that just your general way of going about it anyway?
No, 100%. And I did the same thing in the past. A few years back, I had like 700 drafts, and then the next year I did 500 drafts, and then the next year I did 300 drafts, and 300 kind of seems to be about that sweet spot. I'm trending for a little bit more than that this year, but I think the other thing, and like I said, I'm doing a lot of these like puppies and the little boards and whatnot on Underdog, but I am trying to focus more on the big contests this year, rather than just doing junk volume. I can't remember what the contest was, but they did like that $1 contest 2 years ago. And I think that was
Dalmatian or the
and I just instantly, like immediately maxed that one out with 150 slows, and then I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm stuck to my phone nonstop for the next 2 weeks. Like I can't unplug for more than a couple hours. That's not how I want to enjoy my summers.
Yeah, and I know a couple guys that are in the Twitter streets, and they're pretty known now because they're just they'll do like 2,000 drafts in a year, and I'm like, where do you find the time? Like, are you drafting like every hour of the day? Like you just, like you said, you just literally have your phone in your hand, like just walking around. But I mean, I know a lot of people get in a lot of volume doing the slows. Like I'm not a slow drafter. I'm not a slow. I just can't stand it. I can't stand doing slow drafts. So I think that's one major difference. Obviously, it sounds like you are too. But yeah, I can't. I love to do the fast. I love to just be able to knock it out within a 40 to 45 minute span, especially with these 20-second clocks. I know we talked about that too. But yeah, I just can't do the slows. And I'm not like you. 300 is about that sweet spot. So we are coming back up here at the turn. But don't pay attention to my ranks. I haven't done them in a minute. So.
No worries, man. But, I think A.J. Brown and Drake London would be the two guys that would really jump out to me if they make it back to us. Those are pretty easy picks. Rashee Rice in the queue as well. I know a lot of people right now are going like hard after the running backs, and I don't know your kind of thought here.
I've been going against that grain too. I'm not going to lie. I
think especially when you get Jameer Gibbs 101, like that's an ideal hero RB build where I can lock down Jameer Gibbs, and I'm okay spending the next like 6 picks on wide receiver, tight end, and just loading up at that position and then adding some RB2 value here. So, still one pick out of London.
Well, you got Rashee. What are you thinking here?
So we'll go Rice for sure. I'm kind of stuck between Devontae and Zay Flowers. I prefer Zay Flowers, but this is also, your portfolio here.
I'm a Zay Flower bull, and I actually
let's do it then.
I have Zay ranked ahead of Devontae because I've been heavily going on Zay Flowers for pretty much all offseason. I just think that with Declan Doyle coming in, I think this offense is going to look completely different this year. Lamar, hope to God is healthy. I think this offense is just going to look great, and I think they're going to filter it through him.
And this, I feel like drafting from 101, I almost prefer like the third or fourth pick this year because I feel like when you're sitting there 3 or 4, sometimes you can get lucky with like a Brock Bowers or Drake London or Chase Brown falling down to you. You're not really getting that at the turn. So this Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers, I feel like you're potentially locking in 2 top 5 wide receivers here. So that's kind of been my favorite move from the 2-3 turn. If you're not getting the Nico Collins or the Brock Bowers or the AJ Brown, which unfortunately we did not.
Yeah, Bowers, I think, once, obviously Cube's going there, it's just massive for him. Kirk Cousins can easily just latch onto him and make him, a target monster right off the bat. So yeah, once he started moving up, I was like, there's no way he's going to go any way back. And he never falls anymore, at least any of the drafts that I'm in.
On Drafters, he's still going to the 2-3 turn on Drafters. I don't know if this is a sponsored stream, so I'm sorry if I'm saying something I shouldn't be, but Brock Bowers in round 2-3 is still alive and well over on Drafters.
I will say, I haven't drafted on Drafters this year. I did do quite a few of the smaller drafts last year, and just this year I just decided not to do it because for whatever reason I can't win in the cumulative. But I felt like there were a lot less sharper drafters, even than like DraftKings. I felt like they were a little less sharper over at drafters. So I don't. That doesn't shock me a single bit.
I think more than anything is you get people just not caring about ADP. Like, you know how rare it is to see somebody fall like even 2 rounds below ADP on Underdog. Right. You'll see a player on Drafters that like the entire draft room has decided we don't want this guy, and he'll fall 4 or 5 rounds. Yeah, and he'll just tailspin, and you don't see that on a lot of other platforms. I think Drafters is a much smaller community where people just kind of do their rankings and stick to their rankings. So every platform has its pros and cons.
Sure.
But I think Bowers, you talked about him really getting steamed up. I've got him in my rankings, like my redraft rankings, a little bit different than best ball.
Sure.
But I've got him in a tier, picks 6 through 8. Like, I think this guy should be going in the middle of round 1. So if I can get him at the 1-2 turn, early round 2, he's one of the easiest clicks for me. I'm sitting at like 35% Brock Bowers right now.
Yeah, I definitely don't mind that for redraft. Like that's redraft, like you said, it's a little bit of a different animal there, and especially if you want to get a top guy like that in a redraft league, it can really pay dividends. Where you're talking about large field contests like this, where the ADP is going to matter, but not as much. It's in redraft. If you miss out on a guy like Brock Bowers and not get a tight end, even that kind of elite, and then he can really just kind of crush a league. So. Right. Totally understand that, and I like the hardcore conviction rankings. I'm kind of the same way. Like I do my rankings the way I want to do them, and I go off of them a lot. And what I did want to ask about that with your rankings, I'm guessing you probably do your rankings for best ball as well. But is there any phases in the drafting cycle where you like just totally hammer your own rankings, like maybe earlier in the offseason compared to like now, where the ADP's gotten a little bit more sharper and more, it's adjusted enough and it's getting a lot more sharp. Do you do it any differently?
Yeah, I mean, this time of year, especially through this first couple of weeks of training camp where ADP moves slower than it should, this is where I'll just upload my rankings and I'll just like straight up auto draft teams based off of my rankings because I don't think it's moving the way that it should. Here, I love Jameson Williams. I don't know if you've got a lean on JMO or not.
That's why I like having guests on, because then I start diversifying by not doing it myself. I want to hear the bull case on Jameson after we make this next pick.
And then I like all these running backs here: DeAndre Swift, Henderson, Judkins. I've got them all kind of in a tier together. So if you just want to take the lead and take one of these guys, if you want to take Lamar too, we can go with Lamar. But I think going with Flowers and Rice setting us up for a later Patrick Mahomes. I don't think we need to force Lamar Jackson here.
Yeah. And I know you said you're from Chicago. Are you a Bear fan? You are a Bear fan, right?
I am, yeah, but I'm like a hopeless Bear fan. Like I'm not one of those optimistic Bear fans. Like I'm always assuming the worst. But I do like DeAndre Swift at cost this year. Like I've been a big DeAndre Swift hater over the years, but I think that he changed his game dramatically last year. Like he's been such an east-west dancer. Like he's always trying to pick up extra yards that lead to big losses. Last year he was getting downhill quick. Like he is a much more mature and decisive runner. So I've completely changed my stance on DeAndre Swift. But back to Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
Especially in best ball, because you get those dud weeks where he's going to give you a 0. Yeah, but he was the wide receiver 11 last year. He was the wide receiver 19 the year before. The kid is still just 24 years old. They gave him a mega contract. And last year to start the year, when we saw him not doing a whole lot, the offensive coordinator lost his play calling duties. And as soon as Dan Campbell took over, he became a featured part of the offense again. So they gave this kid $86 million. Like, I think that he is an integral part of this offense. And back-to-back years finishing inside the top 20, you're drafting him outside of the top 20 right now. And I just expect him to continue getting better every year.
No, I think you make really good points there. I do. You know, I think you do a lot. I think a lot of people do forget that Dan Campbell literally was like, "Hey, you're done," and
right,
like, yeah, you're out of here. You're out of here. You're not using him the way he needs to be used. And then all of a sudden, next game, bam, he's getting like 6, 7, 8 targets. So I think that's a great point that you made there. In retrospect, I've been drafting a lot more T-Slaw. I think that T-Slaw is going to be more integral too. And that's been all that's pretty much been said by Dan Campbell, too. It's like, hey, we need to get this guy more involved as well. So who takes the expense at that? Because I feel like he runs a similar route tree to Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I mean, this is one where
route tree.
We've already got Jameson, or we've already got Jahmyr Gibbs, and we've got Jameson Williams. You know, I just want to invest heavily in this Lions offense. I've been taking Amon-Ra St. Brown ahead of JSN and ahead of Christian McCaffrey, so I'm very overweight on Amon-Ra. I'm very overweight on Jameson. Obviously, taking Jahmyr Gibbs any chance I can. I just think this is one of those offenses. Like, there's two offenses where I just say, like, I want every part of this, and I'm taking Sam Laporta as well. The Chargers are the other one where, like, you know, in different drafts, I'm just going to draft different players. Sometimes it's going to be Ladd, sometimes it's going to be QJ, sometimes it's going to be Trey Harris, Rondé Gadsden, Keaton Mitchell. Like, these are offenses that I think can just average, you know, 35-plus points per game. So I just want to draft as many pieces of it as I can.
Yeah, and to that point, like, are you a believer in Drew Petzing? Because, you know, we saw, which I know this is a totally different makeup of an offense and totally different players, and obviously they're a lot better than what he had in Arizona. But he really didn't do all that great with Arizona. Right. Are you a believer in the OC, or is it more just the talent around him?
I think Dan Campbell is going to have a pretty big influence in the offense based on what we saw last year, and we've seen that if, you know, Drew Petzing isn't doing what they want, he's just going to take over the reins himself. So, I've got faith in him there. I like Ramadre here a lot. I don't know your stance on Ramadre, but I like that.
Did you see he left practice earlier today? I'm not this affects this pick, but
I did not know.
Yeah, he did leave early. So a little of a note there. He did leave early. I didn't get any other details. All I saw was that I think it was RotoWire. Let's make this pick real quick.
Can you scroll down just a bit? Is Tyler Warren still there? Tucker Kraft. All right. I mean, I'd go with Sutton or DK Metcalf here if you've got to lean between either of those two.
What do you think about DK? I kind of like the quote today from Mike McCarthy saying they wanted to move him around a lot more. I think the way they should be trying to make him more of a focal point of the offense. And of course, everybody wants to talk about Aaron Rodgers having the low ADOT, but I think that was a lot of Arthur Smith doing too. Like that was just his offense. So
and we saw when you hit DK on those crossers, on those short ones, like he can take one to the house. We saw him do it in that London game. So I think DK.
I mean, and he runs fast. Like, I mean, big guy runs fast and can beat you deep, can beat you across the middle. And like you said, like he can bust one at any point. So, you know, I've been buying more and more DK here lately. I do think that McCarthy's going to have this offense looking way different than what it looked like in the past. I'm a believer in DK Metcalf. Do you have a big bias between him and MPJ? Because it seems like everybody does. It's either you like one or you like the other. I know there's a cost difference, but we're just speaking potentially on just the two guys. What's your take?
I think ADP's got it right. I think both guys can outperform their ADP. I think that DK Metcalf probably deserves to go a little bit ahead of Pittman at cost. I prefer Pittman ever so slightly, but the ceiling case for DK is so much higher that I think he's worth picking right there. If we want to just plan for this next pick here, I'm not sure what Mahomes' ADP is over here on Underdog. I don't know if we got to start looking at him with our next pick.
He's at 93.
So we need him to fall a couple spots there. I mean, that would probably be the primary pick that we'd want next, having Rashee Rice already. And then Jared Goff, I'm guessing, is he in like the low 100s?
He's like 100. Yeah, he's even fallen even further. He's in the 110 range, which is about where
I think the problem there is we're probably not going to get him if we wait for the next one. So, I mean, I don't know how you feel with quarterbacks. I know 3 quarterback is like all the rage right now, but I feel like if you can double tap Mahomes and Goff with our next pick, and then we're just set at quarterback and we don't have to worry about it for the rest of the draft, I think that would be kind of the ideal situation here.
I mean, I really like that. I have no quarrels against that. We kind of already, and for those that are watching, Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, Ramondre Stevenson, and then wide receivers, we got Rice, Flowers, J-Mo, and DK. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like we've got a great base right now. So, yeah, I'm totally fine spending the capital right here on two quarterbacks that we get a double stack with, and we get basically a triple here with Detroit. But, yeah, we get Rashee Rice with Mahomes, which – we've seen, Mahomes in camp already. He's moving around. He's not moving great. He's not moving like obviously he's 7.5 months off, the Achilles there or the knee. Sorry. So, but yeah, I've got a lot of Mahomes because I've got a lot of Rice. So basically, by virtue, I'm going to have a lot anyway. But yeah,
if Mahomes isn't fully mobile, you know what that tells me is just even more passes going to Rashee Rice. So
exactly.
I'll take it.
He's going to get the ball out. We already know he's going to find. And Rashee Rice is just absolutely fantastic at what he does, getting open in the middle. He can even break out to the outside. He does what he does. He does it very well. So. Being cleared already for camp, that's also obviously a great sign also for Rashee Rice. So, yeah, I'm totally fine if he makes it back here, which we've got these guys who've got two quarterbacks already. These guys don't really think they're going to be shooting for – this guy's got two quarterbacks. So, really only worried about Chase taking a naked Mahomes, which,
we'll see. I know a lot of people just prefer Purdy in a vacuum too, so – we've been seeing a lot of that. I think Mahomes kind of gets pushed up because of, the stacking with Rice, but, we made it out there. So I think that's the move here. And then structurally, like I like doing the two quarterbacks and then three tight ends. I don't like doing three quarterbacks and three tight ends in the same build. So if I can lock down two quarterbacks that I feel good about here, and then three tight ends late round, I think that's a fun way to structurally build these teams.
Yeah, you got two guys here with obviously really good floors, and their ceilings are obviously great too. And I do think now that Patrick Mahomes doesn't have Matt Nagy, messing with him all season long, that
right.
the offense here is going to look. Everybody wants to talk about how it's Bieniemy, but I mean, Bieniemy's actually had good offenses in the past. So I honestly feel like Kenneth Walker is obviously going to be a big part also. But yeah, I think that's even going to help the passing game even more.
I had a thread about Nagy a while ago. I think that he catches, and this is coming from a Bears fan. We're like, I should hate Matt Nagy more than
I was going to say. Are you about to do a puff piece for Matt Nagy? Please.
I just don't think so. Here's my kind of thing: is that this was like the best offense in football Nagy's last year when he was in Kansas City, and then when he came to Chicago, that was when the league drastically changed, and that every defense started playing too high coverage. They started taking away that deep ball, and in those 3 years that Nagy was gone, Travis Kelce got 3 years older. They lost Tyreek Hill. They lost Kareem Hunt. The offensive line got banged up. Defenses changed the way that they were playing the Chiefs. And then Nagy came back to Kansas City, and he kind of became like the scapegoat for all of these problems, when really I think it was just kind of the fallout from giving Patrick Mahomes $500 million and losing Tyreek Hill and all these other sorts of things. So I think he was kind of unfairly blamed for, some of the things that we saw happen in Kansas City. We got to remember, though, this is why I'm kind of still drafting Jackson Dart, because Matt Nagy, his first year as a head coach, he coached Mitch Trubisky to a QB1 season and got him in the Pro Bowl. So I think that, there's a lot of hate for Matt Nagy, and I think sometimes it gets a little bit overblown.
A little over exaggeration there. Yeah, and I mean, with that, how much Jackson Dart are you actually? I mean, the way I see it, just seems the offense alone scares me a lot, just for the simple fact that Scadaboo's coming off a very bad injury.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors is not healthy. I don't know. I mean, I guess technically, yeah, sure. Dart has a great standalone naked value. Like the rushing ability is excellent. And we saw what he did last year. He put up multiple games, very good fantasy point games. But I will be honest, it has really been hard for me to find that click this year. And maybe it's the cost more for me than it is the player.
Yeah, and I'm not aggressively drafting Jackson Dart. I'm sitting at 10% right now, so ever so slightly over exposed to him. But I do have faith in just the rushing upside. I think the major fear, if you told me Jackson Dart had if we turn the injury toggle off and he was just going to play a full 17 games, I'd probably be taking Jackson Dart at QB7 or so, just because I expect this Giants offense, it's going to be a lot of RPO, a lot of design runs for the quarterback. We're going to see Jackson Dart doing what he does best. My fear is just that the way he plays, this guy's destined to hit IR, concussion protocol. He's his own worst enemy out there on the field.
Yeah. And I don't know. I guess the way I think I like Tyler Shuck a lot. I don't know how you feel about Tyler Shuck, but I feel like he has not exactly the rushing upside that he has, but I feel like, the guy put up 300 rushing yards last year, and he ran for, I think, 4 touchdowns, and he goes like, I don't know, 18 to 20 picks cheaper. He's got Chris
And now he's got new weapons
Jordan,
all around
he's got Jordan, Travis Etienne. He's, Oscar Delp coming in as tight end. Like, I just feel like I love the Saints this year. Like, I'm huge on the Saints, and that's for that reason. That's why I'm like, I can't click dart there because I know I can get Tyler Shuck like 20 picks pass, and I feel like they have similar outlooks. But like we just said, like I feel like Shuck has the much better offense at the moment. But
yeah, I mean, I'm at 27% neighbors, so I probably should get my Jackson Dart up a little bit.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I like Dalton Kincaid here. I think that, when healthy, he is so good. I know we need a tight end here. And then if you could scroll back up a little bit, I didn't see any wide receivers that really caught my eye here.
Not really. Higgins, Shakur,
I like Diggs. You want to talk about risers? I think Diggs.
I'm heavy on Diggs because we already know he's going to sign. It's just a matter of where.
1,000 yards last year, playing 58% of the snaps.
and that's the thing is like if he signs with a team like Washington, which that's heating up now, like every day the last couple of days, it's been ever so more just heating up and heating up and heating up. I mean, where do you think realistically if he does sign with let's say the Commanders, because it feels like that seems more realistic with Brandon Ayuk thing going on and that guy's going off the rails. It seems like, even though he still firmly is confident that he's going to be a Washington Commander, and to that point, they haven't signed anybody else at this point. What do you think if they do sign Stephon Diggs? Where does he go? How far up can he reach? Like, does he reach the same? I think he was going in the mid-80s, the late 80s last year when he went to the Patriots, and we knew he was going to be the guy in New England. But he also had injury concerns because he was coming off the knee or whatever.
Yeah, I think he probably goes like around round 8 or 9. Like I see him probably going right after Ricky Pearsall. I can't imagine, like right after Ricky Pearsall. I don't think that he's going to be able to, if Stephon Diggs has a landing spot, I don't know how you could take Michael Wilson ahead of him, or how you could take Romeo Doubs, or some of the other guys that we're looking at right here, Jacoby Myers, Matthew Golden. I think he clears all those guys pretty easily, but it's pretty tough to put Stephon Diggs ahead of a Chris Godwin or Ricky Pearsall. Some of these guys with on the right side of the age curve, feeling a little bit better about.
Exactly. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think he's probably going to, like you said, I think he could easily move up maybe 10 to 15 spots, but I don't feel like he's going to probably jump much more than that. And
I already talked about like the Raiders too. I know there's a lot of smoke about the Commanders, but I think the Raiders would be an even better landing spot. Everyone starts talking about the X receiver in a Ravens offense. It would nuke. I wouldn't say nuke Brock Bowers, but would definitely knock Brock Bowers down a little bit. But
I think don't hurt my Jalen Naylor exposure, man.
Yeah, Naylor. I mean, I've been throwing darts at this whole offense just because I'm a believer in.
Somebody's got to emerge other than somebody has to emerge other than Brock. I mean. We already know they got Genty. We already know he's going to have his major role, and Brock Bowers is going to be the one. So somebody has to emerge. But, I have heard that. Like, I have heard Diggs possibly to the Raiders. I mean, that would be interesting. So Al Boog said that Ramondre left practice because he was throwing up. So that's good to hear if that's true.
Relatable, man, out there running sprints in the heat. I remember high school doubles.
Trust me, I remember 2 days, very much so, and they were brutal. But, so hopefully that is the case. Hopefully he's fine. Either way, I've got lots of Ramondre. Sounds like you do as well.
Yeah.
But we are going to be coming back up. So right now we got a 2-3-5-1 Dave, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, Ramondre Stevenson, Rasheed, Zay Flowers, J-Mo, DK Metcalf, Stephon Diggs, and then we capped it with right now our lone tight end of Dalton Kincaid.
If we could add Chig or Strange here. Right, yeah, I'd like Chig or Strange here. I think those are both really good. There's a pretty big tier fall off after these two. I don't know if you prefer one to the other, but waiting this late on tight end, and if we could walk out with Dalton Kincaid and then one of Chig or Strange, feel really good about that.
Well, there goes Chig.
We still got 2 picks left.
I don't really have just a great bias between the two. Like I feel like Chig probably has a little bit of a higher ceiling with his offense compared to Brenton Strange being in the Jags, and we know how much talent the Jags have right now. Whereas, Chig doesn't exactly have as much competition. But I do, we can't get Strange here.
And then you said Naylor. You said Naylor's your guy, so let's go ahead and get Naylor as well. Yeah,
I'm a Naylor guy. Like I said, I feel like we're really so good with running backs, and I'm not just a huge fan of either one of these. I mean, are you
No.
are you buying it in the Denver backfield? I know you talked about those ambiguous backfields earlier, when we started the show. Are you
I like
buying it in
Dobbins.
Denver?
Dobbins is the one that I like. I'm based in Colorado Springs, so I hear a lot of the Denver beat, and they love
Gotcha.
Dobbins. And I think people are scared off because of the injury history, which I get it. The man's never played a
It's
full
fair.
season. Like I
It's
get
totally
it, but I
fair.
but I think when healthy, we saw last year that he was clearly the preferred back. They gave him a multi-year extension. Sean
15
Payton
plus
just
touches in 10 week in the first 10 weeks. I mean, yeah.
exactly, yeah. So this is, and I was an unabashed, like I loved RJ Harvey. He was one of my favorite running backs coming out of the class
Yeah.
last year. But his game didn't really translate to the
It
pros
did
all
not.
that
It
well.
did not.
So, and then them going out and getting Jonah Coleman, I think that's an indictment on RJ Harvey as well. So Dobbins has kind of been the one that I've been drafting. I've been passing over Harvey and Jonah Coleman.
I will say I'm heavy on Jonah Coleman, but that's also because I'm heavy on Dobbins, and I feel like if
Yeah,
it's more of the I want the direct backup because I don't feel like
yeah.
it's Harvey. Obviously, I think we both agree on that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I will, but I do think Jonah Coleman is going relatively cheaply too, for the whole reasoning. If Dobbins does get hurt, he's going to slot right in and be the feature back. Like I just
And
feel
what I
like
will say about, I've got like a pro Jonah Coleman argument, even though I haven't been drafting him, he's just going so expensive. But I don't think there's a lot of standalone value there at all. But I think he's got dual contingent upside because we got to remember, like I think a lot of people remember, the carries and the big plays and the breakaway runs, but he was also second in receptions in the FBS last year. So if RJ Harvey goes down, he is a phenomenal pass catcher as well. Like it's not just handling carries, not just being the backup for J.K. Dobbins. He can back up J.K. Dobbins or RJ Harvey. So I think if
right.
either of those guys goes down, he's got a path to a big workload.
Well, and that's going back to that, like Tyler Beatty last year was
Yeah.
getting third down work. Like
Mhm.
Jaleel McLaughlin was getting third down. I honestly feel like he will get third down work just for all the reasons you said, and that was kind of the early sentiment that we got from Sean Payton in OTAs, and when he was going to get the third down row. So I mean I do feel like there is a little bit of standalone value there. I do think Jonah Coleman probably is on the field early, really early in the season. I know I'm definitely not a firm believer in RJ Harvey anymore. I've definitely lost faith. I do think that obviously with all the injury news that came out late, and that they didn't tell us about, was not good.
Yeah.
That's not what you like to hear. It sounds like it was worse than it was. But yeah, I mean, I just can't find where RJ Harvey's going. I know he's fallen a lot, obviously, with all the news and everybody kind of being out on him. But I feel like the reason they drafted Jonah Coleman was to immediately put him to work. I feel like he's going to get on the field.
I don't know if you saw, we talked about Stribling being a riser. Look at that. At the 13-14 turn, Stribling going
Right.
off the board. I
There
mean,
he
this was
goes.
a round 18 pick not too long ago, around 16
Exactly.
pick
He
just
was
a couple
going
days
16,
ago.
17 easily, yeah, just a few days ago, because I know I was taking him, so that's tough. But
And I mean, even in these NFFC drafts where you got like sharp drafters, I was getting him in round 20. Like after getting my defense and my kicker a month ago, I was getting DeJon Stribling, and I was just like, what are we doing here, people? Like it was an easy click in drafts, but that edge might be gone.
Yeah, I think that one's fully that ship is sailing. If anybody's out there and they're drafting right now and you're not and your bags are light, if you want to get a bag, you better get it in now because
And he's one like I'll chase that guy. I'll chase him up in around 13 or like 12 or 13.
I don't mind. I'm thinking 12, 13. I think 12, maybe even. I mean, I don't know about 11. 11's starting to get into where you're getting into those better wide receiver 2 ranges where you can get some decent guys.
You should be taking him over Denzel Boston, over Omar Cooper. Like if he gets there, I think that's still pretty fair.
Fully agree there. Who are you liking? Are you liking any of these running backs, or what do you think?
I love Tank Bigsby here. I think the contingent upside. We know Saquon Barkley is getting older. Like that's just a bet against an older running back that I'm always going to make.
A team that wants to run, obviously.
And then Brian Robinson is another one. The same thing. Like not a lot of standalone value here, but like we're pretty locked up with Gibbs and Swift and Ramadre Stevenson. Throw some of these injury away backs at the back end of the roster. And, if Ramadre Stevenson breaks down at some point, somebody gets hurt, we've got these other guys that could potentially step in.
Big Rob might easily step, and I know they've got a whole new OC head coach over there in Atlanta, but Big Rob might easily still step into kind of that TA role. Like I feel like he can still, he's a good 3 to 4 yard carry guy. He's a bruiser. He's I guess a plotter, if you will. But he always pushes the pile forward. Like that's kind of what they loved about Tyler Algier. Obviously, Tyler Algier is gone, and now it's Brian Robinson. So I do like Brian Robinson. I do like the click. I do think he's going rather cheaply. So yeah, completely fine there. Let's go back to the board.
So what are you
here.
thinking? Looking at, we got 3 picks left here.
Yeah.
I was talking about a 3 tight end build early, but getting Kincaid and Strange, I almost feel okay with the 2 there. Like I don't even know if we need to add a 3rd tight end.
What do you feel about the 7 and 7 bye
Oh,
week?
missed that. Good
Yeah.
call. Yeah, so we'll need
Yeah.
another
That's
tight
my
end.
only. Yeah. And I honestly,
I missed that.
I think that the tight end spot is such a low scoring across the board like spot in best ball that sometimes if I do get I would say if we had one more earlier tight end and it was a 7-7,
Might
I'd
just
say
take
no.
the 0.
Yeah, just take it'd be like, yeah, okay. Hopefully they do enough to get us past that hump.
I did a Brock Bowers Tyler Warren draft earlier in the year, and I was like, well, I'm not adding a 3rd tight end.
I was going to
so I'm
say
just
right
gonna
there,
live
I'd
with
be
it.
like, yeah, nope. Yeah, I mean, if I get like a Tyler Warren or a Brock Bowers and then I match up later on, I'm just going to be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to eat it for that week because I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
not
going
to waste my 18th rounder for an extra 3.1 points in that week.
Right,
Yeah.
like it's not going to happen. But yeah, I mean, on this team, I do think we can definitely do that. We're already locked in, like we said, at quarterback. We already know we're not going any more quarterbacks.
Right.
So realistically, we're at what we got 3 picks around 15.
We could probably go running back, wide receiver, tight end, like one of each with our next 2 picks, or maybe 2 wide receivers and a tight end. I mean, I'm kind of okay with a 5 tight end or a 5 running back build because I think we've got a good running back room here. So I'd probably go wide receiver, tight end, or tight end, wide receiver. That's probably the way I'd be leaning. I don't know if you like going a little bit heavier with the running backs or kind of what your strategy is here.
I actually think we have more depth at wide receiver. I think we could do running back, wide receiver, tight end.
I like that too. Yeah.
It just depends on who you like back here in the back. I do think there's honestly quite a bit of running backs in this back half that I do think have a lot of contingent value and a lot of, that could really boot
Talked about Ray Davis at the top of the show. I mean, Ray Davis is just such an easy click late in drafts.
Where is he even? Is he even? I mean, I know. Is he even being? Oh, did he already go? Oh, he went. Okay, he went.
Yeah, all right.
I was looking through there. I was like, I know he's in this range. So where did he go? And then he goes at 184. I'm going to be honest. He's not a click that I've clicked a lot. I have a little bit, and I did more in like the pre because I was like kind of like you, like, man, why is this guy like basically going undrafted? And I don't know. We just haven't heard anything about him at all. I know we're getting into the camp now, and we're going to definitely hear about him. But it's just crazy that there's been zero buzz about him at all.
Yeah, I think Emmett Johnson's a fun one to add here. We already got Mahomes and
like him,
Rice that fits in pretty well with what we're doing here. Tank Dell, man, the news has been good on Tank Dell. I have not been the biggest drafter now, but that's one of those where I'm kind of kicking myself for not drafting him earlier. All right, he goes.
You had to talk about it.
So we'll take Emmett Johnson here for sure.
Okay.
I also like Freiermuth. I think Freiermuth is a little bit underrated. We saw some good play from him last year, and now I think with Jonnu Smith out of the picture, it's much more cleared. It does work a little bit against the DK Metcalf that we drafted earlier, so I don't know if we want to do that or not. The other one, Tyquan Thornton, might be a little bit too deep for you, but if we want to just keep going in on this Chiefs stack, Tyquan Thornton is a fun late pick as well.
I think I think Thornton will definitely be there late if we want to take him. But I do like the Freiermuth call, and I don't have just a ton of him. I'm mixing him and like Darnell Washington because Darnell Washington basically is never picked. So I want to kind of get that both best of both worlds and hope they kind of ping pong at times. And
Freiermuth's one of those guys too. It feels like he's been in the league for so long, and I think something about the Steelers jerseys just makes him like look old. Like you kind of like feel like he's just like Heath Miller 2.0. The kid's still just 27 years old. Like his best years are ahead of him. We've seen some really good play from Freiermuth. So yeah, I think he's a guy who can kind of I typically try to avoid the late round tight ends because a lot of them end up being nothing. But Freiermuth's a guy who could have 80 to 100 targets this year pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree. Like Jonnu Smith was totally in his way last year. And again, Arthur Smith is just Arthur Smith. I feel like this is going to be way more traditional offense where, like you said, I do feel like we're going to see a lot of 12. We're going to see both Darnell Washington and Pratt Freiermuth. That's going to also give both of them a lot of chances. And I do think that Pratt Freiermuth is probably the better receiver, route runner, all that, et cetera. So totally agree with you there. What's up, Flying J? Good to see you. Appreciate you jumping in. Appreciate all you guys jumping in. Again, this is episode 37 of Extend the Drive Best Ball Live. Sean Mitchell, Dave Kluge. We are drafting a BBM. We're going to try to take down that $2 million top prize. We are going into the last pick. We do have a few picks to go before it. Dave, you got any big shows coming up? You got anything? What's in the works? I know, obviously, I'm sure you're getting busy right now which
Yeah.
like you and I, we're degenerates that draft, and do this all year long. So, but I didn't know you had anything major, any NFFC drafts coming up, any major extremes or anything you want to plug?
In an hour and 10 minutes, I'll be going live on the
Oh.
Football Guys YouTube channel with Rick Wolf. We're drafting a $350
Nice.
NFFC online championship, so that'll be a fun one. We'll do some Draft Nation promo as well. We'll be out in Vegas a couple of weeks for that event. That should be a really good time.
There you go.
But then outside of that, daily content right now over on the Football Guys YouTube page. It's been pretty fun. Been growing pretty quickly this year. We're doing daily shows right now. We've got DraftKings live streams that we do on Thursday. We got NFFC live streams that we do on Tuesday. We've got 5 episodes a week on top of that. So staying really busy. But the biggest thing that we've got working on right now, starting next week, we're going to be doing our training camp reports over at Football Guys. So we're lucky enough at Football Guys, we've got a huge staff of people. We assign different teams to every single person, and their job is to listen to podcasts, training camp reports, read through all that stuff, distill it down into, and then distill it into a fantasy football friendly type of document. So we get about 2,000 words per team per week. So it is a huge chunk of data. But in my opinion, it's just the best edge that you can get this time of year. It's so hard kind of separating the noise from the reality. And this, I think, does a pretty good job where you can just kind of go through team by team, and then we break it up position by position. So you can go quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end for every single team, and read all the news you need from every single week.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. Yeah, I think that's a great way to do that. We are at the last pick here, Dave. We did. Tyquan Thornton did get picked. Unfortunately, I apologize. That was me. But your boy Bootie's here.
Booty's still there.
I do like Booty here.
To quote Bob Harris, I am a booty guy.
Is there anybody else that you're kind of targeting back here that you just want to ramble off to let the listeners and the viewers know? Any guys you're kind of just darting with back here?
I do like Ted Hurst as well when he's available. I think that stepping into that X receiver role that Mike Evans is vacating, there could be some value there. And then another one, and this might be a little bit too deep, but I have read so much positive news on Jalen Tolbert. Now, the issue is that they also drafted Chris Bell and Caleb Douglas, so they've got some rookies there that are on good contracts, which means that he could end up being a cap casualty. But I think trying to run, a high-low offense where you got Malik Washington with a career 5-yard ADOT, and then you've got Jalen Tolbert.
He is going to be the X, right?
Yeah. He's going to be the X receiver. He's going to be that downfield guy. And I think that, there is a world where Malik Willis is a much better passer than we expect him to be, and Jalen Tolbert ends up being fantasy relevant. So not a player that I'm aggressively reaching for in every single draft. But when I get Malik Willis, I really like Jalen Tolbert as a final round dart throw.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hooked on that 2024 season with Dallas where, he only had nearly 50 receptions, but 16 yards, 7 touchdowns. Guy's a big body, red zone threat. That is what you can really bank on. And being around 18 pick, all you need, maybe 1 or 2 big, a touchdown games in a year, and you're paying off value. I like Tolbert, like the call. I'm obviously heavier on Miami myself because they're cheap. Nobody really wants them. And, Greg Dulcich, all those guys. I've been mixing in Tolbert. I've been mixing in Caleb Douglas. There was good reports today about Chris Bell from Jeff Halsey too, saying, hey, he's more earlier than later on his recovery, so that's good for him too. Good to hear for him too.
Did you see the report that came out right before we went live that Zach Charbonnet looks like he could be ready for week 1, according to Albert Breer?
There is not a single way.
So it's
going too far right there.
I will say I do the serious high stakes fantasy show on Wednesday nights, and we had Corbin Smith on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
and I of course asked him about Zach Charbonnet, and he said, this is miraculous. He goes, the team is looking at him on an Adrian Peterson-like trajectory, and he said week 1. And I kind of, sure, whatever. But now we got Albert Breer reporting it too. It's one of those things, we're starting to get a lot of smoke that Charbonnet might be there.
If you get a couple of credible guys like that are reporting it, I mean, you have to listen.
Right.
Do I agree? No, but I mean, man, it would be miraculous. But I mean, we've seen crazier things happen. We've seen, like you said, them comping it to an Adrian Peterson type return would be absolutely just nuts. Let's go ahead and obviously what I like to do is always just get a little draft grade after we name the team. And so I wanted to extend the drive. That's all live. Episode 37.
That's on 37 episodes, man. Most people don't make it past episode 10. So stick with it, man. It's always fun having a show that grows like this.
I really tried to jump into it last season, and I did 30 episodes last year, so I've only done 7 so far this year. And I kind of told myself I pulled back a little bit this year. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to try to hammer it out and try to just become all of that. I already have the stuff on X and I already do all that fun stuff on X. So I'm like, it's trying to juggle a lot. And then my kids are now getting into the age where they're playing a lot of sports. That's the other part. It's so it's hard now where I can't really just. I have to think about can I even do it on Tuesday? Because what are my kids? Which one of them has this? One of them has this. Okay, well.
Well, so you got some good guests lined up. So I'm happy to be part of this fun guest list that you had there.
Yeah, and I appreciate you very much for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure. It's been a fun one. We did do a 2673. So let's save that guy right there. So got you in there. Did 2673, run through it real quick. Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, quarterback, running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, Ramondre Stevenson, Tank Bixby, B-Rob, and Emmett Johnson. I totally forgot that we had the Mahomes, Emmett Johnson, so that was nice there. Rasheed Rice, Zay Flowers, J-Mo, DK, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Naylor, Booty, and then tight end room rounded out with Kincaid, Strange, and Freiermuth. So, yeah, what I always ask everybody to do, every guest on the stream, just give a 1 to 10 rank, how you feel about the team. What do you think, Dave?
I'm going to give this one a strong 8.5. I think that, there were a few players. I think what we got with the 2-3 turn, I think we made it work, having to get Rashee Rice and Zay Flowers there. I think that's really for me the kind of sliding doors moment when you're drafting 101 is who falls to you at the 2-3 turn. And we talked about the guys sometimes you get real lucky and you get a Brock Bowers there. Sometimes you can get an AJ Brown, a Drake London, a Chase Brown, an Omarion Hampton, and Nico Collins. We didn't get any of those guys. I still think that we made do with what we had available to us. So I think that's the only reason I can't give it a higher grade is just because we were kind of left with those scraps at the 2-3 turn rather than some of the guys that you really, really hope fall there.
Yeah, I really think this is a solid team. I really do. I think that we got really good picks pretty much in every slot. I don't think there was one pick that we looked at and was just God, oh man, kind of have to grimace and turn and plug the nose, close the eyes, and click.
Freiermuth, I'm not crazy about. I think that's the other. Had we had two guys, I think Kincaid and Strange feel good about that tight end room, but with the bye weeks not matching up, we had to add a third there, where I think using that third spot for another receiver probably would have been nice. But hey, man, if Pat Freiermuth ends up finishing top 10 this year, we're not going to care where we take it.
We're going to be cruising, and we're going to be hopefully, splitting $2 million. So that's totally fine. I was going to give it about probably a 7-9. I really thought this was a good draft. I really felt like we covered a lot of the bases. Like I said, we allocated very well. Started, like you said, with Jahmyr, then went just heavy wide receiver, and then kind of circled back. We got good tight ends, good quarterback. I feel pretty strong about this team. If Mahomes comes along, it's good and ready to go week 1. Feel very good about our quarterback room. I just feel like we got strong three running backs here and then another 3 that have really good contingent value, and then all this can hopefully give us at least a week or two where Brian Robinson falls into the end zone maybe twice, and gives us a good week or two.
And I think the best thing too, when you're picking at the 101, I like getting Brian Robinson there. We're never wishing for injuries, but they are a part of the game. They happen, and I think making that kind of statement early in the draft, taking Jahmyr Gibbs over over Bijan Robinson, and then getting Brian Robinson late, if Bijan Robinson does go down, then you're just cooking with gas at that point, having 2 guys that are both top running backs.
Yeah, absolutely. No, totally agree. I totally agree. So, yeah, man, I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I know you got another show to get ready for, but hopefully you guys do tune into that. By the way, I also did drop, all of Dave's stuff, his handles, the Football Guys handle down there in the comments below. So you guys can give him a follow. Check him out. Check out the stream later. But, Dave, any final thoughts, any final comments, anything else you want to tell everybody before we wrap this thing up?
Nah, this is one of the best times of year to draft. We've got real information. Don't be, I said this on Twitter the other day, but don't be the wet blanket that's oh, you can't get excited about people. Get excited. I'm a football fan. So when I see my guys, football players running around on fields, catching balls, I don't care if they're not in pads. I don't care if they're in shorts. I don't care if they're running at 80% speed. I'm excited. Football is here, and I'm going to enjoy these next 5 weeks.
Exactly, and we know that whenever it's over, and then people are going to be crying that it's over. And so, like you said, enjoy it while it's here. Live in the moment, cherish it, have fun with it, and just enjoy it. So, Dave, tell Rick I said hi, by the way. But hey, you've been a great guest, man. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you coming on. And
Cool.
so, yeah, Dave Kluge, Sean Mitchell, we're out. We'll see you guys next time.